hit like, and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where I break down the most controversial subjects, the most interesting topics, the most pressing debates going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. It's good to see everybody here. First of all, just from the rip, let me know if y'all see me clearly. I done did some internet tweaking, and hopefully I look different. I look more clear, less pixelated than the last couple of days. Been having some internet challenges, but I think we're good to go tonight. I know tomorrow, for a lot of you all, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, tomorrow's a big day, and tonight is a magical wondrous night for a lot of you people, between the family and the kids and all the stuff. I understand that you got a lot going on, so I won't keep you long. But I thought it was important for us to go into this shorter week with some insight, with some perspective, at least on a couple of the big items going on. And also, I'm happy to take some Q&A tonight as well. I know last night we got cut a little short. Tonight we won't, since the Wi-Fi is up and running. So if you want, prepare your super chats, prepare your super stickers and thanks and all that stuff, and we'll go. And it's not, I won't just take those questions. I'll take questions, you know, you don't have to pay for a question necessarily, but of course priority is given to the super to the super chats and super stuff. I'm still fighting this cold. Got me in the chokehold. I swear I wasn't coughing all night until I got on air though, but it'd be like that sometimes. Anyway, I appreciate y'all so much. I appreciate what we're doing here, and I'm grateful as we start to wind down this calendar year that we're really hitting a groove. Again, views are up, both live views and views of the video the next day. The clips that we put out, you all are consuming, and most importantly, you all are sharing, and I appreciate that. Again, I know tonight's going to be a little different simply because ain't a whole lot of people online. If they are, they ain't trying to hear about the news. They ain't trying to hear about the world's problems. They ain't trying to be stressful. They try to get some peace, and I understand it. I'm here for the peace too. So we'll do, like I said, we'll do a little bit of Q&A tonight. That's right, Bill. We're going to do a little bit of Q&A tonight. Rolando, that's right. The Wi-Fi is rocking, yo. The Wi-Fi is rocking. Your optics is good. For some reason last month your voice sounds very robotic. Computer. I've been having some weird audio stuff too. I'm getting Princess to come. Look, see, this is what I'm sitting here playing this ink pen, and I look crazy. This is not my day, y'all. This is not my day. I want to get all that audio. So I got Princess coming through at some point to help fix all that. She's gonna help me shut it all down and build it back up so that we sound as professional as we used to. We getting there, y'all. We getting there slowly but surely, brick by brick, wall by wall. That's what we say, right? Speaking of which, I had a wonderful conversation with Mumia Abu-Jamal today. I know we gotta get those. I know we have to get those Classroom in the Cell episodes up. That's all on me. But it was such an important conversation to have with Mumia. As you know, Mumia was arrested in December of 1981, I believe the 9th. His daughter died on December 17th of 2014, and his beloved wife, Wadia, died on the 27th of December in 2022. I say that to say, December's tough for Mumia, and so it's extra important for me to stay in touch with him and to be extra, I don't know, responsive to what he's going through. You know, Mumia is one of those people who never talks about his own pain. He never talks about his own case. He's not out here forcing people to struggle for him, he's advocating for people to organize for a free world. He's advocating for everybody else. That's what makes Mumia so special. Anyway, but I know in December when his voice drops, I know he becomes more somber. And it doesn't just make me think about Mu, although obviously he's my friend and my brother. It makes me think about all the people who are incarcerated, who are in cages right now, fighting for freedom or dreaming of freedom, while navigating all kinds of loss and pain and loneliness. You know, those cages are designed to keep you separated. Those cages are designed to keep you divided. Those cages are designed to kill the thing inside of you that is human. And so I'm just sending love to all of our brothers and sisters behind the wall, including my own family members who are behind the wall. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're experiencing, and I send you my love. Man, y'all got so many comments and questions coming in. I already see. I already see some super chats and some super comments. We're going to get to all of them. We're going to get to every single one of them. I'm going to start with one because, you know, the stories are important, but I want to get to all this stuff. Someone said, can I recommend Angela Sterritt as a guest? I'm not familiar with Angela Sterritt, but I'll do my homework. I'm looking now. She has a book called Unbroken. Canadian journalist. Okay, I'll do my research. I'm unfamiliar, but I'll do my research. I'll do my homework, and if she's dope, she absolutely can. Someone said, "Are you and Boyce Watkins on good terms?" It's funny you asked that, and maybe you're asking it for the reason that it's funny to me that you ask it. Boyce and I have been. Let me see. I met Boyce in 2005 or 2006, so I've known Boyce for 18 years, certainly, easily 18 years, probably more, but probably 18 years. And there was a time when we were very close, and then there came a time where we kind of grew apart, and then there was a time where we were at odds. We've battled and sniped and, you know, all kinds of stuff online. I don't try to spend too much time thinking about that these days. So I don't know what good terms means, but I would say there's no, I love my people, and I care about the well-being of my people. And for me, that's all that matters. So, you know, if by good terms, like, do we hang out? Will we go hang out, watch a movie? Will we call and talk to each other on the phone? Probably not. But at the end of the day, we're, I hope, all fighting for the liberation of our people, even if we have stark disagreements. Some disagreements are irreconcilable. Some differences are irreconcilable, but we're not on bad terms. I'll say that from my perspective. I actually, ironically, and maybe this is why you mentioned it, I actually called Boyce's brother today. Boyce Watkins. I wasn't going to mention this, obviously, on my show, but since you asked the question, I'll mention it. Boyce Watkins tweeted earlier today, maybe 6 or 7 hours ago now, that his mother passed away. He sent a beautiful message to his mother, who just passed away. If I remember correctly, saying that he would see her on the other side. And, you know, for all of our battles and fights and struggles, you know, when those moments happen, I don't think about politics. I don't think about ideology. I think about at the core our fundamental shared humanity. I know what it's like to lose a parent, and I specifically know what it's like to lose a parent that you love and are close to and who you care about. And I can only imagine the pain that he's going through, is particularly losing a parent on Christmas Eve. If you celebrate Christmas, then losing a parent on Christmas Eve is tough. We were just talking about Wumi Abu Jamal and all the loss of his wife, his daughter, his freedom, all in December. I know about December losses too. I lost my sister in December. She died 4 years ago in December. In fact, yeah, she died the night of my father's funeral. My dad died. We went to the funeral. She died that night, both in December. So I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I don't make this about me. I'm just saying I understand the heaviness of loss and the heaviness of loss in this season. And all I can think about is the pain that brother might be in, or undeniably is in. And so I sent a note on Twitter, just wishing him, some love and some healing and some peace, some comfort during this time. And I called his brother and who I have a very good relationship with, and offered my condolences and asked to have those condolences sent to Boyce. I just, he and I don't talk on the phone, so it'd be sort of weird for me to call him, but it was important for me it was important to do that, I think, because his brother is a friend, but more importantly, again, at these moments of loss, all the other shit just doesn't matter so much. So, again, I send my deepest condolences to the Watkins family, and may your mother's memory be a blessing. And as we say, may all of her sins be forgiven. May her grave be made spacious. May she be granted entry into the highest levels of paradise. Rest in peace. All right, family. I see y'all are sending me some super chats. I saw we answered that one. Another one on the topic of prisons. Miriam Manjera says, why does the U.S. have for-profit prisons for children? In South Africa, we call them children in conflict with the law. And they go through divergent programs promoting restorative justice. I mean, look, I agree. I mean, I don't want to romanticize South Africa. That's what made me pause. But I do think that there's some value in asking that question that you raised. Why does the U.S. have for-profit prisons for children? But I would push a step further and say, why does the United States have for-profit prisons at all? Incarceration should never be profitable. Caging Black people, caging brown people, caging poor people, caging people with medical addictions, all of this is a moral atrocity. And as long as there's money behind it, there is absolutely no way that we can end it. Not in a capitalist society. These are the contradictions of capitalism, right? So I don't spend particular time thinking about why we have for-profit prisons for children, because that almost suggests that we should have for-profit prisons, or that it's somehow less problematic to have for-profit prisons for adults. I'm saying the for-profit part should be off the table. Now, the prisons for children part is a separate piece, which I also think is problematic. Again, I'm an abolitionist, so I'm not advocating for caging anybody, but given who children are, given that their brains aren't developed, given all the factors that pull children in these different directions, I agree with you, Miriam. Restorative justice is the answer. Restorative justice is the key. And let's take that same belief that children, can be restored, right? That we can restore people, that we can redress harm, that we can resolve the contradictions. The idea that we can do this for children, let's take the same spirit and say, how can we do it for everybody? How can we do this for everybody? How can we create a world where our primary response, our default response, is not to cage people or even to punish people, but to resolve or repair the damage done, to fix the harm? That, to me, should be how we think about it. And I don't know if South Africa would be my model, but there are some places that would be, and there are some programs in across a variety of contexts that would be, and that's something for us to think about. Todd TJ Taylor's just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for the generous gift, Todd. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. Thank you. And hopefully y'all out there in the community have grabbed them 5 memberships, because I hate when the crazy people get them. I hate when the weirdos get them. I hate when the cornballs get it. I love when y'all get the memberships who actually care about this channel, who care about the topics, and who are invested in advancing conversations and not just trolling. So hopefully the good people got it. Bill Williamson said, is there a true difference between a re-education camp and a prison, or is it simply semantics? Are they not the same in most countries? I'm sorry, I may have an American-centric point of view. I mean, you raise an important point. The prison isn't just about SCI Mahanoy or federal prison camp over here, or youth detention center there, or county correctional facility over there. Those are the obvious incarceration spaces. But what we often find is that we replicate the prison in a variety of contexts. We replicate the prison in our schools. We replicate the prison sometimes in our mental hospitals, etc. So it's not enough to just say, hey, we're going to do an alternative to the prison. If the alternatives are carceral alternatives, if not in the built environment, in the logics and practices of how they operate, that's the key. We got to think about this thing differently. We got to think about this thing differently. So there may not be a difference between a re-education camp and a prison. That's why I don't advocate re-education camps. I advocate restorative circles. I advocate harm reduction sites. I advocate work release. I advocate, the suspended sentence. I mean, we could go all kinds of models for everything from decarceration to excarceration, etc. I think at the end of the day, we have to be thinking about how can we do something that doesn't replicate the logics of the prison, the tactics of the prison, and the consequences of the prison. It's not just about not having brick and steel and concrete. Jazz LP said, it might not be weird. Mark, please reconsider calling him. You're a unique, compassionate person, and that's where you thrive in every area of your life that I've seen thus far. Your call might be the tie that binds. Maybe. I certainly called his brother and sent words of love, and maybe I will. I'll think about it. That's not a dismissive I'll think about it. That's a real I'll think about it. I have no issue thinking about it. I'm not sure that he'd want to hear from me. And when someone is dealing, I know how I felt the day that my father died. Some of the calls were normal. A lot of the calls were weird. But I didn't want to be distracted or having to carry other people's emotions about my tragedy, right? So I didn't want to I didn't want people to make it about themselves. And there was a little, and my worry is that, anyway, yeah, I don't want to be calling and making it about me, or have him, or forcing him to have to think about anything other than whatever he needs to be okay in this moment. And that's the honest to God truth. There are other thoughts I might have that I have to sit with and think through, but but that's a big part of it. That's the biggest part of it for sure. All right, y'all. Keep those questions and comments coming. We're gonna jump to the actual topics of the night. We 20 minutes in and ain't covered a story yet. I don't know if we've ever done that before. I don't know if we've ever. Usually we do this at the end, but I'm happy to have done some of the questions at the top of the show. It's kind of neat. It changes the whole vibe of the show. So let's get to it though, because this is important. One child gets killed every hour in Gaza. That's according to UNICEF and the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency, which has been banned from operating in Israel and occupied East Jerusalem, brought this statistic to the forefront today. They made a post, and here's the post right here on Twitter. It's provocative, it's stunning, it's accurate, and therefore it is scary. It says, "No place for children. Since the beginning of the war, 14,500 children have been reported killed in Gaza, according to UNICEF. One child gets killed every hour." These are not numbers. These are lives cut short. Killing children cannot be justified. Those who survive are scarred physically and emotionally, deprived of learning. Boys and girls in Gaza sift through the rubble. The clock is ticking for these children. They are losing their lives, their futures, and mostly their hope. Ceasefire now, back to learning. These are all also calls against the scholasticide that's happening, the destruction of schools and the school system. Of course, this is Philippe Lazzarini, who I've interviewed not multiple times, I think maybe once or twice on this channel. You can see it, Philippe Lazzarini, Commissioner General of the UNRWA. And then they've been posting this "killing children cannot be justified" tag, which is incredibly important. And sadly, for some reason, people have to be reminded of that. The death toll since the start verified that nearly half of those killed were children. The death toll since the start of the war verified that nearly half of those people killed were children. 90% of the population, 1.9 million Palestinians, have been displaced more than once. So you got this high death toll, half of which are children. You got 90% of the population have been displaced. Half of the people displaced are children who have lost their home and were forced to flee. Today, the U.S. envoy to Israel rejected a report from the U.S. Agency on International Development, or USAID, warning that a famine continues to unfold in the Gaza Strip. He criticized the agency for relying on, quote, outdated and inaccurate data. Now, this isn't the first time this has happened. The U.S. has repeatedly rejected humanitarian assessments from aid workers and reputable agencies. This is not complicated. It's disturbing and scary, but it's not complicated. Gaza is no place to be a child. Gaza is no place to be a child. One child every hour gets killed. And those who don't get killed are still forced to wrestle with all of these systems of inequality and injustice and precarity. They are left out to dry. And when the world says, hey, look at this awful situation, the United States continues to fund the awful situation. When the world says, hey, this is a genocide, the U.S. says, no, don't say the G word. When the world says, look, humanitarian aid is being blocked, you have to do something, the U.S. says, we don't see anything. Then they say, well, look again. The U.S. says, okay, fine. There could be something, but we don't see it. But if this continues, we'll do something about it. Give us a month. They say, hey, give us another month. 2 months go by. It's a game. And now they're saying that the U.S. is saying, that the world, all these organizations, all these humanitarian rights investigators, all these people are wrong, and Israel is right. And it would almost be laughable if people weren't really dying. And for those of you who blame the Biden administration or the Biden-Harris administration for this, you're right. Joe Biden has the ability to stop this. No Israeli genocide can happen without U.S. support, not for any significant period of time. Full stop. Full stop. So, in light of that fact, we have to hold Biden-Harris accountable. Now, it's not they didn't do it. Israel did it. But again, Israel only operates with U.S. approval, U.S. sanction, U.S. money, U.S. political protection, U.S. weapons. So the blood is on the Biden-Harris administration's hands. Now we're about to move into the Trump administration in about a month, a little less than a month. And I know y'all said it can't get any worse. I know y'all said Trump won't be any worse. He'll be better or the same. Well, we're about to find out. And whatever the answer is, it ain't good for Palestinians. So we have to keep the pressure on. We have to keep the focus on, because these babies are dying. And the death of Palestinian children, sadly, is far too tolerable. Far too tolerable in this so-called progressive society. I know y'all ain't got a lot of good news. It's like Rosa Billy just said, she ain't got no good news either. Greg Stoker says it's going to get worse before it gets worse. You know, Jason, I agree with you. The Trump will be worse, but you know, nobody wanted to hear that, so we'll leave that alone. But we'll find out. Regardless, I'm just going to keep doing the work. You're going to keep doing the work. Everybody here is going to keep doing the work. That is our calling. That is our charge. The Justice Department is suing the state of Louisiana and its corrections department. Why? Well, because they've been keeping thousands of people in custody for weeks and even months past their release date. Since 2012, the Louisiana doc is accused of unlawfully imprisoning more than a quarter of people after, this is wild, after they completed their sentence. I'm gonna say that again. Since 2012, I said DOC, the Louisiana Department of Corrections is accused of unlawfully imprisoning more than a quarter of people. That means more than 1 out of 4 people, more than 25% of people are kept in prison after they finish their sentences. Now, the prosecutors are calling it a violation of due process, the 14th Amendment, if you care. They blame the state's deliberate indifference and chronic procedural failures for a years-long pattern of detaining people who were entitled to release. In 1 month alone, 141 people were held after serving their full sentences. Nearly 80% of those illegally detained were eligible for immediate release at the time of sentencing. The Civil Rights Division of the DOJ issued this statement. To incarcerate people indefinitely, as the Corrections Department does here, not only intrudes on individual liberty, but also erodes public confidence in the fair and just application of our laws. The Justice Department looks forward to proving its case in court. I hope y'all appreciate the magnitude of what's happening here. Louisiana has all kinds of jacked up prison politics. They have all kinds of weird carceral arrangements that would shame the other 49 states damn near, with the exception of only a few. And that's saying something in a nation that incarcerates more people than any other nation in the world. That we incarcerate 25% of the world's prison population, despite making up 5% of the world's overall population. This is incarceration nation. And yet still in Louisiana, it's worse. In 1 month, 141 people were held after serving their full sentences. Nearly 80% of those illegally detained were eligible for immediate release at the time of sentencing. I gotta say that again too, right? That means, to be clear, You're in jail. You go to court. They sentence you. Your time is served. Say you've been sitting in jail for a year or two waiting for your trial, and they sentence you to a 2 to 7, and you already been sitting for 2 years before your trial. They gonna let you go right now with time served, and you just go immediately you go to probation or parole, and then head on home. No, they keep you there for a month or 2 or whatever. And again, this might seem like, oh, mistakes happen. No, 1 out of 4, more than 1 out of 4 people are in jail or in prison after their sentence is over. Can you imagine spending a month in prison, 6 months in prison, 5 years in prison, 30 years in prison, whenever it's over, and they won't let you out? That is illegal. You're literally falsely imprisoning people. You are violating people's due process rights. I mean, there's several, I would say, constitutional violations here, but cruel and unusual punishment. You know, we've gone down the list, but to lock somebody after the thing is over and you can't do nothing about it. Louisiana be on one, yo. Please, family. I know we get outraged by the stuff that the media tells us to be outraged by. And I know some of it is outrageous. I know we get really invested in this case over here or that crime over there. But this is the stuff the media doesn't want you to see. This is the stuff the media doesn't want you to know. We have to let the world know anyway. And when the world lets you know, we got to do something about it. That's all I'm going to say. All right, y'all. Let's move on to another story. This is a story that has confused me and bothered me. And I don't know why this is happening, but it's something that we got to talk about. It's something that, for my money, is just strange as hell. This is just a weird moment in media, a weird moment in television, a weird moment in progressive politics. So many things are happening, and I want y'all to help me make sense of some of it across the board. But let's get to this particular story. Anyway, co-founder of the Young Turks and self-described progressive, Cenk Uygur, he's gone on the defense after his weekend appearance at Turning Point USA's America Fest. Y'all didn't know, that is like MAGA. This is like right-wing / MAGA central. Cenk, who's been right here on the show before, joined MAGA influencer Charlie Kirk on stage. Charlie Kirk. Other speakers included Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, and the big kahuna, Donald J. Trump. Just to give you a sense of what this place is, who be there, and what they be doing when they get there. Again, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, and Donald Trump. When Steve Bannon is the least controversial person in the list, you know something is wrong. And this was a move that left a lot of people, particularly progressives, scratching their head. And I could see why. Let me show you a little piece of the actual moment where he's on stage, because this is weird to me.
And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment. So I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
All right. Yes, I love that. So look, for my left-wing friends that are watching out there, they just booed Mitch McConnell. That's a great thing, okay? And let's do one more. What do you guys think about Dick Cheney? My left-wing friends out there, we have been waiting for the right-wing populists to boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney our whole lives. Take the win. Take the win. Now, what we need to do in the Democratic Party is we need to do likewise. We need to have a revolt against the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, and the Nancy Pelosi's. And the Hillary Clintons, and now all of a sudden the Dick Cheneys. What are they doing on our side? Are you guys nuts? Right?
I have to interject. When all of a sudden Kamala Harris is doing the Liz Cheney thing, I said, does she want to lose? I mean,
what's amazing is I said the same thing. Look, Dick Cheney polls at 13%. What lunatic thought it was a good idea to wrap yourself around Dick Cheney? I mean, when we started the Young Turks 22 years ago, longest running show in internet history, first ever YouTube partner with original YouTubers, one of the driving forces was get Dick Cheney out of office, right? And now for Kamala Harris to come full circle and say, oh, I've got 90 corporate CEOs backing me, and I've got all these executives on my side, and I've got Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney on my side, was so counterproductive. It's not what the left wing stands for. It's not what the Democratic Party should be about. So the problem is the establishment. They are controlled by the donor class, and mainstream media is their marketing arm. They do not do news. They do propaganda. And one more thing. What I want you guys...
It's interesting. And Cenk, I hope you're paying attention to what they're clapping at and where they be dead silent, because this is mind-boggling what Cenk Uygur is doing right here. And you know, I like him. He's been on the show. I've been on his show, but I got to call a spade a spade. This is bizarre. But what's more bizarre is not just the fact that people were outraged by it, but that he somehow couldn't understand why people were outraged by it. Let me, Cenk, give you some context here, because what you're doing here is very dangerous. I'm not going to call you a grifter. I'm not going to call you disingenuous like the other people on social media have. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think you're just wrong. I'm willing to give you the most generous read possible because I think you've earned it. And the most generous read I can give you is that you're just doing something ridiculously wrong, completely wrong-headed, the wrong calculus, the wrong expectations. I'm going to assume you're not trying to just, you know, play one end against both ends against the middle. I'm going to assume that you're not trying to get right-wing money. I'm going to assume all the things that people are saying about you right now are not true. And I'm not, this isn't like a subtle way of like throwing jabs at you. I'm saying I'm going to genuinely, sincerely assume that you are operating with the best of intentions. And I'm going to say, hey, maybe he's just completely wrong here. First of all, you appear at a conference, or whatever you want to call it, America Fest. Was that a convention? That's what I was looking for. With Charlie Kirk. You jump on stage with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is a racist. Charlie Kirk is not like a soft, subtle racist the way, you know, we might suspect that a whole lot of people who have a particular political perspective might have a little seed of racism and might have a little trace of racism here. No. Charlie Kirk is not just the person who says, oh, white privilege isn't real, although he says that. He's not the person that hates the books and fights against the 1619 Project and helped organize the 1776 Commission, which is basically to whitewash history. He did that. All that stuff is like the normal stuff. I mean, that's just regular right-wing racism, right? I mean, he called George Floyd a scumbag. That's pretty bad. This man said that Martin Luther King was an awful person. He called the Civil Rights Act of 1964 awful, a huge mistake. This is like public accommodations. This is like being, I mean, this is the basic stuff here. He's gross. Charlie Kirk does not represent our interests. Charlie Kirk is not somebody. This isn't the horseshoe theory, right? I mean, maybe in some people's minds it is, but this isn't like, oh, you know, we see the world very differently, but we kind of converge on this one issue. Charlie Kirk is dangerous. In addition to being racist, he says that no abortions are ever medically necessary. I'm talking about like literally, if a woman were going to die, literally going to die if she did not have an abortion, he would say die then. He's the person spreading the conspiracy theories about COVID-19. He was defending Trump, telling us that hydroxychloroquine worked. He's the one advancing narratives that the election really was stolen. He is a problem. He is homophobic. He is transphobic. I could go on. There's very little that could be said about Charlie Kirk that is good. I know that Cenk Uygur stands for ethical, principled, humanistic values. Charlie Kirk opposes all of that. So when you stand on stage with him, you lend legitimacy to him. Now I hear you saying, "Oh well, they won the election. They kicked our ass. They already have legitimacy." Yeah, they have electoral power. That's not the same as legitimacy. You're giving moral legitimacy to them. You're encouraging people to say, "Hey, our political differences are just that." It allows people to frame our political differences as minor differences of opinion, as opposed to high stakes moral, ethical issues that reflect our fundamental humanity. In other words, it's like, oh, we see the world differently, but we can still come together. That's the way people like to talk about politics. But the things we differ on are high stakes things. These aren't things like, oh, well, I believe in offshore drilling and you don't. Oh, I believe that this is the way to recover the economy or stimulate the economy, and you believe that's the way to stimulate the economy. No, you don't believe that some people are people. You don't believe that some people are worth protecting. You don't believe that some people are worth living. And when you stand next to that person and make your differences seem relatively inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, you make it seem as if it's okay to have those positions. You legitimize ridiculousness, even among people who voted for Donald Trump. Some of them voted for Donald Trump. Again, I think they're completely wrong to vote for Donald Trump, but they voted for Donald Trump for very particular reasons. And now you're taking a whole, so we can't say, well, just because those people already voted for Donald Trump, so you know they're already powerful, and what I say and do next to them doesn't matter because they're already Trumpers. No, they could be a Trumper and still, I don't know, believe in science. And now you stand next to Charlie Kirk, and they're encouraged not to. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And you're trying to make it seem as if the left that's criticizing you is being dogmatic and unrealistic, etc. And that's ridiculous. Look at this. Cenk writes, I'm genuinely curious to see if folks on the left feel this is outrageous. We do. Spoiler alert. I go to talk to MAGA. They boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney. On what planet is that a bad thing? Are you kidding me? Cenk, this is where you're too smart to be this. Like, are you being obtuse here? They didn't boo Mitch McConnell because they disagree with Mitch McConnell's policies. They didn't boo Mitch McConnell because they disagree with his politics. They didn't boo Dick Cheney because he prosecuted an imperial war. They didn't boo Dick Cheney because he destroyed and liquidated Iraq. They didn't boo Dick Cheney because of the Patriot Act. They booed Dick Cheney because they didn't endorse Donald Trump. I guarantee you that if Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney were hardcore Trumpers, or just if Donald Trump today were to tweet or whatever his Truth Social platform is, if he were to say, I love Mitch McConnell, please support him, Dick Cheney's my guy, let's move forward, everybody in that room would be cheering for Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney. So this isn't about the MAGA crowd and the political progressive crowd having a shared critique and distaste for Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney. No, they're booing Dick Cheney because he didn't endorse Donald Trump. You, Cenk Uygur, believe that Donald Trump is awful. So if you believe Donald Trump is awful and that nobody should vote for Donald Trump, and they're booing Dick Cheney because he didn't vote for Donald Trump. In other words, the people doing the booing wanted the thing that you think is awful. Y'all don't have the same politics. I need to know why they're booing Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney. I need to know why. If tomorrow Mitch McConnell saved a kid out of a burning building, and tomorrow Dick Cheney, donated all of his money to a prison abolition fund, that crowd would boo them. And I wouldn't be like, oh, well, they booed Mitch McConnell, Dick Cheney, so we good money. No, I need to know why they're booing. In this case, they'd be booing because they're endorsing things that they hate and that I like. This is the problem. Now, Cenk is right. He's absolutely right. Kamala Harris hitched her wagon to Dick Cheney and Lynn Cheney, and it was an awful move. The people wanted progressive values. They wanted a progressive agenda, and you kept moving further and further to the right. I'm not defending Kamala Harris. It's important, though, that we understand why she made that move. It's because the very people in that crowd, the one you are pandering to, said that Kamala Harris was too leftist. They said she was too radical. On what planet is Kamala Harris too progressive or radical? She probably wasn't going to move in Israel-Palestine anyway, because they never do. But I'm talking about U.S. Presidents. But that's the crowd that called her an anti-Semite and an anti-Zionist. What? Kamala Harris? The VP of Genocide joke? No, not at all. So again, please don't act like because y'all both booed or upset at something that we're creating some kind of common bond, or that the common agreement that you witnessed is somehow a signpost of an advanced politics or an advancing politics. That's not what's happening. Did you hear when you said the donor class is the problem, they didn't say a word because they don't give a damn about the donor class. When you talked about progressive values, they didn't clap because they don't give a damn about progressive values. When you said the TV news is propaganda, oh, they believe that. But why? Because they think that mainstream media is the propaganda machine. They don't think Fox News is propaganda. They don't think OAAN is propaganda, or OANN, whatever, One American, OANN. They don't think that's propaganda. They don't think News Nation is propaganda. They don't think Tucker Carlson is propaganda. So again, even when they're clapping, they're not clapping for the exact same reason you are. So Cenk, just to tie this thing up, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. Moving toward MAGA is a problem. I don't think you're politically moving toward MAGA ideology. I'm saying cozying, like moving toward them literally and physically, cozying up to MAGA is a problem. It is a dangerous, dangerous choice. Because again, you're normalized, you become part of that crew of people that thinks political differences are just the same as like what pizza toppings we like. It ain't. You make it seem as if the MAGA crowd can be converted or shifted. They can't, and if they can, it can't be on these terms. The convention you went to, Cenk, was a Trump cult revival. And so while they are right-wing and problematic in all the ways, all of that gets trumped, pardon the expression, by whatever Trump wants, whatever Trump needs. So please don't walk out of there thinking that you moved the ball forward, that you're, bridging the gap. This is the same shit Van Jones tried to tell us he was doing. And the next thing I know, he's in DC basically. Listen, I'm not even gonna go down to Van Jones rabbit hole. I'll just say this. History shows that this ain't a good choice. So Cenk, I'm going to ask you to listen to those voices that are telling you you're wrong. Sometimes when everybody's telling you you're wrong, it's not because we just don't get it. It's because maybe we do. All right, y'all. Let's move on. We got some more questions and comments coming in. Isaac Hempseed just gifted 10 memberships. Yo, that is so dope. Thank you for consistently making these donations, Isaac. 10 memberships are out there. I hope y'all grab them because, again, there's so much going on. You want to be a member here. Rod Singleton said, I know that you are a pathological optimist. I wouldn't call my optimism pathological. And I wouldn't say I'm optimistic at all. I'd say I'm hopeful. And I do think there's a difference. But what plausible political scenario you can conceive of could save the Palestinian people from being permanently displaced from Gaza? The U.S. stopping this. I think it's plausible that the U.S. could stop funding. I think there could be if we apply enough political pressure, I think there could be a ceasefire, and I think there could be a weapons embargo that would do it. That would go a long way towards stopping the immediate displacement. But then there's the question of permanent displacement, right? Because your question also, to some, might presume that if Palestinians are forced out of Gaza, they won't return, which makes sense given the history of Israel-Palestine, given all the refugee camps, given all the, all the people throughout the diaspora who were expelled in 1948 or 67 and haven't made it back. So that ain't a small thing, but I'm saying we could also think about ways of ensuring the right to return. International law does reserve the right to return. It does protect the right to return. The children of refugees have a right to return to their homes. So let's be clear here. Even if Palestinians are forced out right now due to the violence and the destruction, we can apply pressure to make sure that they are allowed to return. But again, we don't just want them to return to Gaza. I want people who are forced out of the West Bank to go back. But more importantly, I want people who are forced out of their homes in Israel, and what is now the state of Israel, to be able to return. I want the right to return for all Palestinian people everywhere. So the first part is, I think we can stop the exit by applying political pressure. And I think we can also enable the return through similar pressures and organizing. But my optimism is not pathological. The Young Turks brought many, myself, to the left, but this is wild. Is he grifting or being honest? If he's being honest, I'm no fan of the Young Turks. Look, I don't want to ever hold anybody to their worst moments. And I don't want to reduce anybody to a single soundbite, a single choice, a single election, a single video post, whatever the thing might be. So I don't want to, I wouldn't tell you to just like stop being a fan of Cenk or of the Young Turks. I think that that's too hard. I mean, I've done things that y'all disagree with, y'all know. And I wasn't grifting. I just saw it different. Maybe you were right and I was wrong. Again, give me the benefit of at least maybe just being wrong and not being a hustler, I don't know what's going on in Cenk's head, so I can't say if he's grifting or being honest. If I were giving him the benefit of the doubt, which I'm inclined to do, I'm operating from the assumption that he's being honest. I am treating him as someone who is being honest and not grifting. Again, I don't know what's going on in his brain. I don't know what his tactic or strategy is. I don't know what his thought process is. I don't know what his calculus is. And I'm not trying to figure that out. For me, it's more important to try and assess not his character or what's going on in his mind, but to say, here are his actions and here's how those actions affect us. That to me is the most important thing. Digger said, brother, please do a show that explains the difference between racism and bigotry. Racism definition has been co-opted and diminished by power structure to change combo. I mean, the conversation about racism is a complicated one and it's a powerful one. And I would say, in addition to making sure that we share common terms and definitions, Because what I find is the people who disagree on who can be racist or what is racist, it's not necessarily that we're disagreeing on the details of a particular act, as much as we're disagreeing on how to describe or define that act or that situation. So, for example, if I say, if someone, I don't have, people will say, can black people be racist? You know, it's easy to just be like, no. And my instinct is to just say no. Because I don't believe that black people can be racist. For me, racism is about institutional power. It's not about individual acts of bigotry or bias. But if you operate from a different definition of racist, and you believe racism is about individual purposes and bias, then we're not really having a debate about whether a black person can be racist or not. And at a certain level, that's not really what we're debating. We're debating what the definition of racism is. We might both agree that a black person who doesn't hire black people is effed up, is messed up, right? And I might say that's not racism, though. That's internalized white supremacy. That's this, that's this, that's this. And you might say, well, that's just racism. Stop making excuses. We both agree that's the thing you shouldn't do. We both see that there's a problem there. We're just defining it differently because we don't arrive at the conversation with the same definitions. I'm saying that to say, when Digger asked me to explain the differences, it's part of it is about explaining differences in definitions based on my point of view and my point of reference. But it's also important to say that even these definitions are different across context. You know, somebody who studied race and racism in the Middle East, you know, how people, not just how people understand discrimination, tamiz or unsariya, racism, these ideas, these big ideas are important to unpack. In Arabic, again, language matters, right? So even in Arabic, how we define or describe tamiz, discrimination, or unsariya, racism, is important because they're not the same as how we use them here. I've been told a million times there's no racism in Palestine. For sure, so yeah. And sometimes they just don't see any kind of discrimination, bias, whatever. They're colorblind, color mute, all that stuff. But other times they're just using a different definition. So again, language matters. So we're going to unpack this. We got to unpack it. We also have to decide what's the contextual situation here. Where are we doing this? Bill Williams said Anna and him been on this route. The push of both Venezuela story was wild. LGBTQIA plus comments by Anna was wild. Thank you for covering this story. Look, y'all are some young Turks watchers and followers and critics. I don't watch the show enough to have an opinion on their kind of trajectory or pattern. I can only go on the story that I just saw and the research I did to understand the story. But I'd love to hear more from you all about where you think that show is going and why you think that it's problematic. So they're still winning. They're still successful. They're still putting out good progressive content. So I'd be curious to know where some of y'all are taking issue. Anyway, I think that was our last question. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight. Thank y'all for talking to me. Thank y'all for helping me put on a good show. Hopefully I answered some of your big questions. I'm going to ask you to you know what? Actually, before I do that, I want to do a special shout out, a very, very special shout out to Scott Critchlow. Scott Critchlow made a donation online for $1,000 and said, "Thank you for all that you do. Your YouTube channel has been nothing short of a godsend. And at its inception, it only continues to deliver in the most insightful and inspiring ways. I wish you continued success in the coming year and beyond. God bless." First of all, Scott, thank you for the generous donation. It means so much, but more fundamentally, thank you for those kind words. You know, it's been a struggle. It's been a battle to do this. But we do it every night. We do the best we can. We're going to keep rocking and rolling. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody, please make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, please hit the join button. When you hit the join button here on the channel, you give us the financial stability we need to move forward by becoming a monthly paid member of the channel. Hit that join button for as low as $3.99 a month. Those numbers matter, man. If we could get 50 people today to join the channel. That will go a long way toward building this long-term project and this long-term platform. I also ask, again, that you not take that like button and that subscribe button lightly, man. When you hit that like button, you let the YouTube algorithms know that corporate media is not the only game in town, and that you want to hear us too. When you hit the subscribe button, you expand our social media footprint so that our work and our projects get out to more people, more eyeballs see it. And again, if you're so inclined, hit that join button and become a monthly member of the channel. I can tell you, it makes a huge difference for us. And if you can't make a monthly commitment, you can make a one-time commitment for this month. You can go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle and drop something in the channel for night school. And not just for night school, but a whole channel for night school, for office hours, for coffee and books, for the classroom and the cell. You can drop it all in these platforms and make it happen. No amount is too big, no amount is too small. If you give $1, we are so grateful. If you give $1 million, I promise you, we are so grateful. And anything in the middle, anything in between, we are equally grateful for that amount as well. I would love for someone to match last night's donation of $1,000. I know some people were contemplating making a $5,000 or $10,000 donation for the year. Obviously, you're not going to do that every month, although you're welcome to. But people said they wanted to make a $1,000 donation for the year. You've been watching for a year, you haven't donated, and now you want to kind of catch up and make a $1,000 donation. Feel free. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle. Drop $1,000 in. Some of you said, at least one of you said you wanted to do $10,000. Two of you said you wanted to do $5,000. Believe me, I promise you, this money does not go like to my pocket. It doesn't go for me to like eat fancy dinners or buy like designer shoes. This goes toward building and expanding an independent media channel. This allows me to pay my staff. This allows me to buy new technology. This allows me to respond to things like the internet issue I had with tech support. It allows me to edit content. It allows me to put out new forms of content. All of it happens with your support. There is no corporate check underneath us. There is no mainstream media outlet fundraising for us. We eat what we kill. We produce content on a shoestring, and we would love the support so it's a little more manageable. So again, whether it's $10,000, $5,000, $1,000, feel free to drop that in our Cash App, our Venmo, our Zelle, or our PayPal. Cash App and Venmo will be my favorites, of course. But right now, again, I don't expect most of you, if any, to drop in that much money. We would be happy right now. We would be overjoyed if everybody watching right now were to drop $10 in. That's right. If everybody watching right now, as we approach the end of this calendar year, if everybody watching were to drop $10 in Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, if everybody watching were to drop $10 in Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, we will be able to meet our financial goals for the month and finish our calendar year with extraordinary financial success. So please just think about it, y'all. Please think about it. And hopefully y'all drop something, man. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'll see you tomorrow.